Wow, thank you. Thank you for that beautiful start to the service this morning. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning. Hi, it's good to see you. I'm Reverend Lane-Mairead Campbell, and I serve as the settled minister here, and I use they, them pronouns. Welcome. Welcome, welcome to First Universalist Church, where we are called to nurture the Spirit and to serve the community, and perhaps to help build a city in a different way. Joining me today in leading our worship service is Ezekiel McGee, using they, them pronouns. They'll be joining us as our online worship associate. Jim Milch is steady behind the tech deck using he, him pronouns. Thank you, Jim. Ann Rohde, using she, her pronouns, will be joining us, doing some music, as well as Ed Deller and Kitty Forbush. We also have Karen Labraco using she, her pronouns, who's in our online ministry team, and Carol Williams and Coretta Broussard, both using she, her pronouns, up doing childcare this morning. So it really takes a village to make these services happen, and we're really grateful that you all are here this morning. If you're here for the first, second, or third time, we especially welcome you. Thank you so much for making your way here. It is so good to have folks come and join us on a Sunday morning. We have a visitors form that can be found in the back of your order of service, or can also be found by clicking the link in the chat if you're joining us online, or scanning a QR code in the back of your order of service if you'd like to do things electronically. Please fill those out so we can offer you a welcome beyond just what we can offer you here this morning. Today, after the service, we will be doing a drop-in small group ministry, both online and upstairs in our chalice room. We have windows open, fans are running, so we're ready for folks to meet up there. We'll be joining each other both online and in person to get to talk through some of what we've been discussing here in our worship service. So, please grab some coffee quick and run upstairs and join us. We'll start pretty quickly after the service ends. So before we take a moment to turn to our neighbors and to offer a greeting this morning, I want to just invite us to connect our two communities, both our online community and folks here in person. So please turn towards Hope, this back corner here, and offer a wave to our folks joining us online. We are so grateful you are here this morning. Glad that you are here with us, joining us online from wherever you are, whether you're here in Rochester or somewhere else. And so now let us take a moment. If you're joining us online, pop into the chat and offer a greeting. If you're here in person, please rise in body or in spirit and greet your neighbor this morning. Dear ones, we are here. Hi, Beth. Good morning. We are here to welcome one another, to connect with one another in our various differences and similarities in this community. So we open our service today with a song actually from the poet Rumi. Come, come, whoever you are, you are welcome here. So I think we're just going to sing it 3 times through. Does that sound good? We'll sing it 3 times through this morning. If you want to harmonize, get fancy with it, I mean, why not, right? So hymn number 188, it's in your gray hymnals if you like. Come, come, whoever you are. Please be seated.
If nothing we do matters, then all that matters is what we do. A quote from a TV show that I've always tried to live by. When the world feels overwhelming, when forces feel so far out of our control, it can often seem like any action we take is meaningless. But I find this quote helpful in times like these for multiple reasons. It reminds me to stick by my personal values, even when it seems like the world doesn't care. But I also find it freeing. If nothing we do matters, then we are not restrained by how we do good in the world. We can use our creativity and drive to be recklessly kind and connect with others in unique and compassionate ways. Our UU faith calls on us to lead with love and care, even through the most uncertain of times. Come, let us worship together. As Patty Goodwin lights our chalice at First Universalist Church, and you light a chalice in your own homes, will you join me in saying our chalice words in unison? May we be a people of welcome,
here to grow in heart and mind and spirit, and may we reach out to serve our community.
Please rise in body or in spirit and join me in our affirmation of faith, followed by our sung offering. Love is the doctrine
of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer.
To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the source and meaning of life. Thus do we covenant with each other and with all. Maintaining our home here at First Universalist helps us all to feel united in purpose. This morning's offering will now be gratefully received. If you're here in person, you are invited to drop an offering in the offering basket. And if you're a visitor, feel free to let the basket pass. You are invited to give online by scanning the QR code on the back of your order of service. For folks online, please click the link in the chat to give to First Universalist Church. Thank you for your generosity.
Where I can find shelter.
Beautiful, Kitty. Thank you so much. Wow. What gorgeous music we're having this morning. I have a story for you all to share with you this morning, and it's actually a story, one story around the passage of the Americans with Disabilities Act. And we're sharing this story just one day after the anniversary of its adoption. So happy ADA Day to you all. It's July 27th, if you didn't know. And so here, as we gather on July 28th, we share this story called All the Way to the Top. We'll get there in a sec, no worries. All the Way to the Top. How one girl's fight for Americans with disabilities changed everything. And the text is by Annette Bay Pimentel, illustrated by Nabi H. Ali, and there actually is a bit of a written foreword from the girl that this book is about, Jennifer Keelan. So we begin our story. Jennifer Keelan may be small, but her voice is mighty. Yeehaw! Snowball responds, speeding up from a walk to a trot. Jennifer loves to go fast, but she knows she'll soon have less time for riding since she's finally old enough for school. She can't wait to make new friends. The school's not far. Jennifer rolls outside down the sidewalk to the corner, but stop! A 4-inch curb is a cliff to someone who uses a wheelchair. Her grandpa eases her wheelchair over the curb. Though the drop jolts Jennifer, she makes it to the building, but stop! The school says Jennifer doesn't belong there because she uses a wheelchair. Instead, Jennifer and her mom find a different school that she can attend kindergarten, but only for part of the afternoon when lunch is over. As Jennifer rolls in each day, everyone is already busy. She has to figure out what's going on and how to join in. Since most kids have never met someone who uses a wheelchair, her classmates are confused and even a little afraid. You'll never be one of us, some of them say. Jennifer knows they're wrong. She's just a friend waiting to happen, obviously. But how do you change someone's mind? She's not sure. But she's not about to give up. Jennifer and her family hear about activists who are working to make sure people with disabilities have access to public places like schools. They want to know more, so they attend a strategy meeting. Jennifer has never seen anything like it. The room is full of grown-ups with all sorts of disabilities. Some use wheelchairs, some use canes. None of them are sitting around waiting for things to change. They're shouting, laughing, and planning a big protest to get wheelchair lifts on buses. They turn to Jennifer. Do you want to come? Yes, she wants to go. Downtown, Jennifer rolls to the microphone and tells her story. She leads marchers through the streets chanting, "The people, united, will never be defeated." It feels good to speak up for what she believes in. She can't wait to do it again. She protests in Phoenix, rolls through the streets in San Francisco, waves signs in Montreal. The demonstrations don't always change people's minds, but Jennifer is used to that. Even when her neighborhood school finally agrees she can attend, she and her classmates with disabilities aren't allowed to eat in the cafeteria with everyone else. That hurts. But she keeps going. Working with other activists revs her up, yet she can't help noticing that she and her sister are usually the only kids out there raising their voices. Still, she can't leave all the protesting to the grown-ups. She knows firsthand that children with disabilities get ignored too, so she keeps speaking up. When Jennifer is 8, activists propose a new law called the Americans with Disabilities Act, or ADA. The law insists schools, governments, and businesses make room for all people, including those with disabilities. Jennifer feels like dancing. If it passes, it means sidewalks with curb cuts, buildings with ramps in addition to steps, and elevators with braille panels. It means Jennifer and her classmates with disabilities can finally go to the cafeteria with everyone else for lunch. Jennifer and her family watch the news for updates on the ADA, but reporters never mention it. She switches off the TV in frustration, wishing she could change reporters' minds on what's worth talking about. Instead, the Keelans get their updates about the ADA when activist friends call. It's bad news. Members of Congress say the law will be too complicated and too expensive. They say it's just not worth it. Since the news station is ignoring people with disabilities, Jennifer and her friends are determined to find another way to make Congress hear their voices. It's go time. Her family buys tickets to Washington, D.C. As they march down Pennsylvania Avenue, Jennifer has never shouted louder, "What do we want? The ADA! When do we want it? Now!" Finally, they reach the U.S. Capitol, but stop! A mountain of steps block Jennifer and other people using wheelchairs from the building where Congress makes laws. Grown-ups slide out of their wheelchairs and start pulling themselves up the steps. They will make sure members of Congress know they are here. Jennifer's heart races. This is what she has been shouting about. "I want to climb the steps," she says, "but stop. The grown-ups think she is too young. You can't do it." Jennifer knows this is not just about her. It's about her friends at school who were shut out of the cafeteria at lunch. It's about millions of other kids she's never met who get stopped at every turn. Jennifer wants to speak up for all the kids with disabilities who aren't there. I need to climb the steps. She slides out of her wheelchair, scoots along the sidewalk to the bottom of the stairway, and puts her hands on the first step. She hauls herself up. Tiny bits of dirt and rock dig into her skin. She drags herself up another step. The crowd roars. Reporters surround her with cameras and microphones, recording her gutsy climb. "I'll take all night if I have to," she vows. But she keeps heaving, hauling, dragging herself up those stairs. She keeps going all the way to the top. Pictures of Jennifer climbing the steps flash around the world. Reporters start talking about the ADA. Members of Congress see the news, listen to the activists, and finally pass the ADA. Laws like the ADA don't change things overnight. Entrances have to be rebuilt, sidewalks redesigned, buses re-engineered. Slowest of all, minds have to change. So Jennifer will continue shouting and waving signs, organizing and explaining. She will continue fighting for what she knows is right, and nothing will stop her now. And we have a picture of Jennifer here this morning that was in the back of the book. A reminder this morning that collective action is a part of our democracy. A reminder this morning about the power of the image of a child and ways that that can change hearts and minds and spirits. Happy ADA Day, First Universalist. As we prepare our hearts for joys and sorrows, as well as our prayer, I'll invite you to join along in singing our doxology this morning. Please be seated as we prepare our hearts and minds for this reverent time of sharing the joys and the sorrows of our gathered community. If you would like to, as we share, you can place a hand over your heart to be able to center into a heart-centered place and space. As Patty places stones into a bowl here in our sanctuary, I will read aloud the joys and the sorrows of our gathered community. And if you are joining us online, please place your joys and sorrows in the chat. I will be sure to read them aloud so that we can honor them in our shared sacred space. This morning we share a joy and a concern from the caring committee. Norma Sitnick is home from the hospital with a fractured left ankle. No surgery required, but a rather heavy cast. Cards and calls are welcome by Norma. We share a sorrow this morning from Karen Labraco. Karen, we are holding you and your family in our hearts. Today in Maryland, my sister-in-law Dolores will lay to rest her son Greg, who died of sepsis after less than a day in the hospital. This is the second of her 3 children she has buried, and she is devastated. So holding you, Karen and Dolores, and all who knew and loved Greg in our hearts today. We also share this morning on behalf of First Universalist that people will be gathering today to honor the life of Larry Barnes, longtime First Universalist member in Batavia at 2:00 p.m. this afternoon. The memorial will take place at the Main Street 56 Theater in Batavia. We are holding his wife, Jerry Ann, and all who knew and loved Larry in our hearts today. As we sing our doxology every Sunday, we sing of peace, goodwill, through every land, by every tongue. We honor this morning that we are a church that is worshiping and meeting in a time of war. We acknowledge the wars and the conflicts that are happening in Israel, Palestine, the Ukraine, the Congo, and Sudan. We acknowledge that there are more conflicts and wars happening that we are not even aware of, and we earnestly pray. We earnestly pray this morning with our hearts, our minds, our bodies, our spirits, our voices for these wars to cease. This morning, as we have every Sunday for the last few months, I will light a white candle to acknowledge the grief felt in a time of war, the too many losses, the losses of certain ways of life, the loss of safety and security. May the grief that we feel here over our losses connect us to those experiencing loss and grief in a time of war. I will also light a yellow candle to acknowledge that even in the midst of deep conflict, war, famine, denial of resources, that the human spirit and joy still endures. May we be reminded in the joys that we feel in our days that we are also connected to those living through a time of war. That through our joys and through our grief, we are all connected. We will hold a moment of silence this morning to honor the many deaths and losses injuries that have happened this past week due to wars across our world. Let us join in silence now. Dear ones, as our hearts break open for the losses we are witnessing and those we have not yet borne witness to, let our hearts also open to ourselves and to this community. We'll drop one final stone into the bowl to represent all of the joys and the sorrows, the griefs and the tenacity of life that is left unspoken in the silent sanctuaries of our hearts this morning. May all be held in the heart of love. Dear ones, I'm going to invite you into a moment of prayer with me this morning. As we open our hearts to the world, as we open our hearts to this community, we must also center ourselves in what is happening now, today. So please, take a moment for a deep breath. Take a moment to just allow your weight to be held in your seat, to take your hands down from your keyboard, to allow your hands to rest softly in your lap, and if it feels comfortable to you, to close your eyes or soften your gaze as we prepare our hearts and our minds and spirits for prayer. Don't hurt me. As we gather our hearts and minds and spirits this morning, we remember and we grieve the loss of Sonia Massey. Don't hurt me. The first line she uttered when police arrived to her home, an ominous warning, a prediction of the shooting to come. How many more Black deaths before those of us who are white join in collective rage? How many more dreams cut short to prove that the system is doing what it is designed to do and we are complicit in it? Don't hurt me. A mother, a lover, a coworker, a friend, a daughter, a human being whose life mattered. Let our hearts open to and honor the list of names this morning, the too long list of Black women and femmes who have died at the hands of police across our country. Let us hold silence this morning and grief and disturbance. Let us open our hearts to all of it. Sonia Massey should be here today, alongside too many who are not. Let the silence speak to us of the too many silenced by an oppressive regime, silenced by our country's unwillingness to acknowledge its own racism and white supremacy, silenced by the collective silence of so many of those of us who are white and our white kin. May we be reminded this morning that silence is deadly. Don't hurt me. Let us join in silence together. As we emerge from our silence, the reminder that we are connected through life and living, through grief and sorrow, through justice and joy. Let us sing hymn number 123, Spirit of Life, from our seats. Well, dear ones, what a week it has been since last we were together on a Sunday. My goodness. Little did we know that when some of us were gathered last week, decisions were being made about who will be running for president in the election this year. Perhaps some of us knew that the Prime Minister from Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, would be coming to visit Congress to speak. We sure cannot forget that this week also held another poignant example of Black death at the hands of police with the tragic loss of Sonia Massey. It has been a full week. All of the weeks of 2024 have felt politically charged and full, at least to me. How about to you? Yeah? Yeah. What a year. What a decade it has been in this year, you know? And I know that many of us have been feeling all kinds of things. The things that came to mind while I was writing this was, we felt shaken, despairing, hopeful, afraid, relief, terror. The list goes on and on. I'm sure you can come up with some more words to share around how you've been feeling. What a roller coaster 2024 has been. My God. It is my job as your minister to remind us of our shared theological tradition in moments and times like this. And so I'm just here to remind us that our shared theological tradition invites us to remember the power both of the collective and the individual voice. Unitarian Universalism honors our collective voice by holding a high view of the democratic process while also believing in the community's right to make the best decisions for itself in relationship. Democracy, which I felt like I really needed to preach about this morning, changed midweek. It was just, this week was weekend. Democracy at its best is about giving people space to voice their concerns, listen, and make decisions based on information, values, beliefs, and good old-fashioned intuition, gut instinct, right? I have to say that this year has not quite felt like it has met those ideals always. At least not to me. Maybe not to you. And I have to say that I think even within our own denomination, just to take a one little moment, we don't always hold space to hear one another. There are times when we can come to the table, I'm sure this is not unique to Unitarian Universalism, but this is where I live, where we can come to the table with our minds already made up, unwilling to change or budge based on new information. The erosion of community spaces and places for informal conversation around deep issues with people with whom we do not agree. The erosion of these spaces feels sped up by the pandemic as well as the rapid development of technology, which has taken many of these spaces online, where we're not able to look at one another, where we treat each other as less than human sometimes. And I wonder where all of this leaves us as we head into the real meat and potatoes, or tofu and potatoes, depending on who you are, of this election season. We are like 3 months away. And these months and these days do keep passing. Time marches onward. Where does this leave us today? I wanted to share our story earlier in the service this morning because it helped to widen my view of what democracy looked like. It helped me to remember that, yes, democracy is about engaging in a process of voting for sure, while also holding that democracy is about holding those we elect accountable for being empowered to be our public voice. That democracy also looks like the actions of Jennifer Keelan and the many activists who climbed the steps of the nation's Capitol, hauling their bodies up step by step. That democracy looks like union workers striking for better wages and better treatment. That democracy looks like demonstrations and petitions and letter writing and stopping business as usual. Voting is just one way that we honor the collective and the individual voice. It's not the only way. It is an important way, but it's not the only way. I have to share with you all this morning that the events of this past week have felt mixed for me. I felt a collective sigh of relief. Let's all just take one together right now. When our president made the decision not to run for a second term and made space for our current vice president to run. I had not realized that I had been holding this tension in my body, in my shoulders, in my heart, and in my spirit, and it loosened. And I felt like I could finally fully breathe, this past Sunday afternoon. I had been feeling worried for months, not only about the lack of faith in our leadership that I am seeing across our country, but also the moral injury that is so often involved in choosing the lesser of two evils. Having to choose one evil that it is becoming harder and harder to trust. And while I agree that one evil is markedly lesser, that the policies of one party in our country are policies, which I can speak about from this place, I am more in favor of, I also have to say that the practices of our present government, both local and federal, have been a stark mirror of just how far away our country is from our democratic ideals, how far away our country is from having leadership that truly cares about us, that truly cares for all of us. We are a country that is currently involved in many wars that support colonial practices and the extermination of people who seemingly do not matter and remain faceless and nameless. We are a country that is involved in many extractive practices that undercompensate other countries for resources, and where we participate in the enslavement of others in order to resource the lives of our more developed ways of living. We are a country where economic interests of our country and our system are held above the health and well-being of the people who live here, of the earth, of the health and well-being of people in other countries we will likely never meet nor see. And so, yes, I have felt a mixture of emotions as I look towards the election that looms large in November. I have felt apathy, despair, a desire to escape it all, anger, relief, confusion. The list goes on and on and on. Not once have I felt truly secure and certain in any of the choices laid out before us. To take a Unitarian Universalist value of interdependence seriously, we have to face how our country is operating honestly. It feels a bit like a mask has been revealed or unveiled, maybe to some of us who were previously unaware. It feels like for me, there's been a big unveiling this year. We have to truthfully claim our actions in relation to other human beings, other countries, and our planet, and we have to claim that they are out of alignment with honoring our interdependence. To engage in these wars, to extract resources from other countries that devalue the humanity of the people doing the labor and also devalues the earth, to continue to choose profits over people, this does not honor the ways we are all connected, the ways we are interrelated, the ways that we are dependent on one another for survival. When election season rolls around, it feels like we are asked to ignore all of this, to put our core values to the side and to just engage in the thing we are supposed to engage in. I know that for me this round, I will likely be voting for the presidential candidate that supports my values. But I also know that it will come at the cost of supporting leadership that is presently complicit in many genocides, in much of what we light these candles around every Sunday. Particularly that I will be supporting a government that supports a genocide happening right now in Palestine, in the face of an International Court of Justice decision asking all countries to cease their support. I know that there are candidates here locally whose policies and practices around this genocide I cannot support. And I know that just being focused on this election can keep us from remembering all of the many facets of our democracy that honor the collective and the individual voice. If I am only showing up to vote and hoping that that is what is going to make it okay for all to live with their worth and dignity honored in this country, I am not being fully responsible to my community, nor to my Unitarian Universalist values, especially values like interdependence and keeping love at the center of all that we do. Not one individual candidate is going to be able to fix it all. I think this is a time for us to lean into the collective, to recognize that our collective voice has power to change and shift things, that nothing has changed in this country through folks being content with the way things are. And that presidential election years can be a reminder that we must take our collective power seriously, rather than putting all of our eggs in this one action. For one or two figures on whose shoulders rests the future well-being of our country, we know that it is more than that. To take our democracy seriously means to take our individual and collective voices and actions seriously. It means remembering that voting sure is important, but also that we have a higher calling towards justice that prevails upon us to honor our interdependence, to honor all beings, to act and to speak and to be in community in ways that time and time again uphold our values and uphold what our values call us to do. What I see this summer everywhere are calls towards community, calls towards being in relationship, that now more than ever, communities like ours are deeply important to our democracy, to our health, and to our future. It can't all be about which elected officials get into office, though that is important. It also has to be about the collective voice. It has to be about relationships. It has to be about the people we find ourselves alongside, the movements for justice that advance a democracy that honors interdependence going forward. As we head into these next 3 months, please know that I am with you in this, that we are in this together. It is my deepest wish for you and for us to continue to hold fast to the values that this faith calls us towards. It is my hope that you are with your people, and that you can continue to build relationships with those who help you live into taking our democracy seriously. May we keep our eyes on the larger values, our eyes, our hearts, our minds, our spirits, on the larger values that guide what we do and say and how we move through the world, rather than focusing on just one campaign, one action, one individual. May we know our power to be so much more than that when it is shared collectively. It is good to be with you in this. Amen. Blessed be, and may it be so. Our closing hymn this morning is a hymn that honors both the actions that we take here at home, as well as our connectedness to those in other lands. So if you would join me in this Finlandia tune, which I always love Finlandia, it's so good. In this hymn, hymn number 159, This Is My Song. Please join us by rising in body or in spirit and singing with us. Dear ones, please remain standing as we extinguish our chalice with our chalice extinguishing words that should be on the screen. We extinguish this flame, but we keep its light in our hearts with its message of love and justice, taking it outside these walls to the world we live in until we are together again. Dear ones, I want to invite you to place a hand over your heart, whether you're here in the sanctuary, whether you're joining us online from your home or from somewhere that you have traveled to or somewhere that you live not close to here. Let us all be connected through our hearts in this moment. I want to just invite you to take a look around at who is here with you. Who are you together in this time with? If you're online, put your screen on gallery view. We could see you here in the sanctuary. We are so glad to be able to see you and to be with you. Dear ones, let us remember this morning that our hearts are so much bigger than one thing, one action, one voice. Let us remember this morning that we have power together, that we are called to be together in this time period. Let us continue to keep love at the center, to keep interdependence at the center, to keep justice, equity, compassion at the center of all that we do in service to this country, this land where our home is. Let us engage in this holy, holy work of democracy together. And as we do so, may we remember that we ourselves are loved, just like everyone else around us. May we go and be that love to and with whomever we meet. Amen. Blessed be, and may it be so.
This will be familiar to many of you, and if you're inspired to sing along, please do. Imagine me and you, I do. I think about you day and night. It's only right to think about the ones you love and hold them tight. So happy together. If I should call you up, invest a dime, and you say you belong to me, and ease my mind, imagine how the world would be so very fine, so happy together. I can't see me loving nobody but you for all my life. When you're with me, baby, the skies will be blue for all my life. Well, me and you and me, no matter how they toss the dice, it had to be. The only one for me is you, and you for me, so happy together. Well, I can't see me loving nobody but you for all my life. When you're with me, baby, the skies will be blue for all my life. Well, me and you and me, no matter how they toss the dice, it had to be. The only one for me is you, and you for me, so happy together, so happy.